Hey everyone, it's Ross here, and welcome back to the den. It's a lovely rainy day outside, which means a good day to be painting models inside. That didn't sound as good as I thought it would. Okay, moving on. So basically, from last week, we have these little trooper guys, I forget their name. What are they called? What's the card say? Exemplar Errants. So the Exemplar Errants are going to be painted up today. I have some sub bits to paint up before I go and glue them to their body somehow. And overall, I'm just going to keep the paint job simple. I'm not going to go into too many colors. So basically, armor, silver morning, cloth, dark red. The little icon bits I will paint in gold separately afterwards. 3 different tones of flesh for in case I need to do a fleshy bit. Black paint to do to make into a wash afterwards because washes do everything nice. And on top, sorry, not on top. Under all that will be a technique I learned on YouTube, where you take a dark color, such as black, and once that primer part all dries, you take a bright color and go over top of it, but not over the whole model like you would with the black. It's kind of like as if you're spraying over top as if sunlight would touch those areas, right? I want to see how that looks with dollar store paints, and because my War Machine army is pretty much painted in dollar store paints, this will be a fun experiment. So, just give me a moment and I'm going to prime these guys up. And these bits will do separate. Alrighty, so I've got them all primed up. But I did a little experimentation though. The back 5, I did them up first, but I did them a lighter coat of white, whereas the front 5, I went with a thicker coat. However, there's one big difference. The back 5, I went at I'll use my finger here as an example. I went at this much of an angle across them. And the bottom still looked a little too dark, so I went from this angle to this angle and then again, but just lightly. Whereas this 5, I kind of went in between the sharp and the lower angle for a medium angle, which I think this might have been the better idea in the first place. And I wish I thought of it at first. And just did a slightly thicker coat across these 5 all the way around. So if I grab a couple of them here that are posed similarly, yeah, we can see the difference, right? So I don't know if that was the right method to do it or if this was the right method to do it, but I feel these ones here came out with better results with that technique. So it's my first time doing it, but I'm pretty sure I'll improve upon it as I go along. So now, the next step is to start painting these guys up, and I'm using metallic paints to start with. So get my shiny silver, and I'll be right back. So I'm done painting up all the metally bits. And I missed a little spot right here on this guy. Right away, as this dollar store paint dries, I can already tell there's a huge difference in terms of the way the paint's being shaded through. Because one thing about these deco art paints at the dollar store is you don't have to add any water to them. Now then, if I'm doing like a big pool of it, I'll add like a little bit to keep it from drying out, but this stuff is already running pretty translucent enough that you can actually see a difference. Now, I don't know if you can see the difference on the camera from this distance, but on the stuff on the left is the ones that I did this angle with. The ones on the right are the ones I did the 2 angles with and a lighter spray. And when I'm using metallic paint on black, it comes out a little darker than the stuff on the left, which has more white on the surface of the model. So I'm definitely going to be going with that angle and like a nice even coat versus 2 different angles and a light spray on each coat. So I'm going to let those dry because dollar store paint does take a bit to dry, even though it's acrylic. And we'll be right back to do the next bit, which will be all the robes and cloth in dark red. Or, sorry, deep red. So there they are, painted all up in deep red. I'm going to have to go over and do a second coat of deep red. And then once I'm done that, I'm going to go and do some touch-ups between the red and the metal, because I kind of overlapped a little bit using my same brush. But they are coming along quite nicely, and I am liking how this is turning out. You can still clearly see as these dry now that the ones at the 1 spray angle versus the 2 spray angles are definitely popping out better in the middle, which is good. So, yeah, I'm going to call it quits for the night, and we'll get back at this the next day. So a few days later, I've been kind of lazy this past weekend, but I've got these guys touched up, cleaned up, done. Now I'm ready for the next step, and that's to give them a nice black wash. And to do that, like I said before, I'm going to use some black paint, just water it down. Stuff's already watered down as it is. Water it down just a touch more. It should help get rid of some of that brightness definition on the metallic paint. And leave some nice little details in the recesses. Just a little drop of that. Take my Big Army Painter Monster Brush, as it's called. I've seen bigger brushes than that. And start adding water to the black paint, which is kind of off camera at the moment. There we go. A little more. So all the wash is just diluted down paint or ink. I'm trying to get a nice consistency here. A little more. A little more drops. I think I got what I'm looking for. Okay, so we'll do a test run on the first 5, let that dry, see how it looks, and if it got too dark, I'll have to water it down some more, right? Another little drop just to be on the safe side. There we go. Okay, so it's been about a couple hours, and it's dried up pretty well. As you can see, comparison. The left one hasn't been done yet, which had the one shot of white primer overhead, whereas this one's had the 2 shots at different angles. And the wash has definitely darkened things up, which is nice. Because I'm going to go back on the dark ones after, and do a bit of highlighting on the flat parts, and whatnot, and then add in some gold paint. And of course, going back over this with red. Excuse me. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I gotta do something with the bottom trim at some point too. So I'm gonna do up the other 5, and then I will get to doing up their highlights. Okay, so everything's now dried, and as we can see, the stuff on the left still comes out a little brighter than the stuff on the right, just from the way I prime them up with paint, spray paint. The back of this guy's still pretty bright. Same with this one. So, to save on time, because these guys are going to need a little bit more work, and I kind of missed that opportunity this weekend because of work and sleep, I'm going to go ahead and put these guys aside, because I'm going to have to do a touch-up coat with the shading. But for now, we'll finish up these guys here and put their gold trim on, and then do some little edge highlighting. Okay, so I went ahead and did up the trim work on all the other guys, keeping note to do more detail work on the leader here. Did up his nubs and the little nubs on the arm gauntlets, the shoulder pads, the shield, and a little bit around his little plate trim there too. Excuse me. Just really want him to stand out. So these guys are now pretty much done. I was going to go back over some shiny metallic metal again and just trim up some edge work, but they actually look pretty good the way they are. All that's left to do now is these little side bits, but I'll do them another night and for another time. Right now I'm going to call these guys done and ready for battle, even though they're not based yet, but still. This was all done with just, not counting the spray paint, 4 colors. Red, silver, gold, and some black. Oh, I can't see those are done yet because I still didn't do this bit down here. I'm not sure what color I'm doing those in. You know what, when I take the photo still, you'll see what I did. I'll think of something. In other words, keep safe and have yourselves a good night. Okay, I changed my mind here. After giving these guys some nice gold trim along the bottom of their cloaks, because it made sense, I had a pool of gold here, and it blends with the dark red really well, I decided I'm going to continue this video and do up the actual edge highlighting for these guys. Keep in mind, I'm no expert. This is just keeping it simple. I missed a spot there. Plus, I missed a couple spots with the wash as well in this guy as well. Besides two other ones. But, I mean, you can probably see the bright red. I don't want that. Gotta fix that up. So I'm gonna go to bed, rest my eyes, and come back fresh sometime tomorrow morning and get these guys done up. Not the bases, though. The bases, they can wait for another video. Maybe. Okay. Bedtime. Okay, I'm back. I went and touched up the swords, and I did a couple of edge highlights of metal and red on these two guys. However, after they dried, yeah, some of the ink wash didn't hold there too well. After they dried, you can see a noticeable difference. Stands out a little more. This one went a little too strong, with this one went alright. But then I realized to myself, I really don't need to add any edge highlighting to them anyway. Because by the time I get them in the battlefield, you're not going to be paying too much attention to that stuff anyhow. And like my painting method is just slap these down with some paint, get them on the field, start having some fun games. Because everybody's going to chip and whatever else anyway. But at least this guy got a little more attention too, though. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for my next painting video. I don't know if it'll be ready next week. I am late getting this one out this week, so what was I going to say now? Right. I'll probably break them down into batches of 5 each because they are metal models. And yeah, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope for the best the paint holds. Alright, so take care, everybody, and keep safe.